Mark in the count. The swing arm now coming back as our countdown continues.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Brick Something News. It's me, Brick Something, and today I'm super happy to have Matchu Toy with me today talking about the news. What's up, Matchu?
What's up?
Thank you so much for hopping on, Matchu. It's awesome to sort of like connect with new folks. I didn't mention this earlier, but I love also meeting kababayan folks. Like, it's always great to meet other Pinoys.
Hell yeah.
I didn't get to show you this, but this is a thing that I made.
That's awesome.
It's the Toy migo.
I need that. I need to get that. I'll order it.
Yeah, man, between Chamba, you, Mega J, Toy Connection, it's just been cool to like connect with folks and see that like we're there, man. Like we're doing toy stuff, and
yeah,
it's cool. So, and we'll come back to that because I actually have, not necessarily intentionally, but there's a couple of things that we're going to look at by fellow Toy Pinoys. Pinoy, for the folks that don't know, it's short for Filipino, folks in the diaspora, originally from the archipelago, which is now known as the Republic of the Philippines. So, yeah, always good to connect with folks. So, all right. So let's talk toys in a little bit, and let's see who's here. Let's see if I remember how to run all this stuff. I think this goes here. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so on Brick Something right now, folks are probably seeing that little QR code there on the bottom. That's because at some point, and I'm not yet ready with it, and it'll be like tonight, I'll throw together that link that you see there at bit.ly/bricksomethingnews, or you can hit that QR code. Because that is where a document exists where you'll see links all set up to kind of walk you through and take you directly to the stuff that Matchu and I are going to look at and talk about. Because like there's all sorts of great stuff out there, and I'd love for folks to be able to follow up with some of the creators that we're going to show today, some of the toys, some of the social media accounts that are dope enough to do some documentation that we can all share with you. Definitely do all the things, follow those folks, check them out for continuing to get like, the needless ephemera yourself. So anyways, blah, 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 Matchu. What are we doing here? Okay, let's check in with the folks who are here, and then we'll move through. Ray, great to see you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And he's ready to see some sci-fi dinos, as am I. Dynamo Dave 2002, what's up? It's a new name to me, so I'm super happy to have you. Thank you so much for checking out the channel. Master Versal Toy Hunter Eldor, good to see you. Aaron Paynes, Papa Payne is here. Silver K is asking people to enact violence on the like button. Be gentle, if it's consensual, you can go ahead and hit. It's all good. Star, welcome back. Yes, we are back. Star's been hanging out today. We've been talking AWOC earlier, and now we're here. Thanos, thank you so much for being here. And I know in advance, thank you, Thanos, because I know you are going to be sharing those links. What? Hear a buzz? Is that just me? That was fun. You there, Matchu? That's probably what it was. Okay, well, I'm sure we'll be getting Matchu soon. Let's continue to see who else is here. Papa, can you hear me? Let's see. Got me singing. Josh Brown, what's up? We got the knives out on a Sunday. Just one, because there's 2 more days till Tuesday. Good to see you, man. Let's see who else is in the chat. I love dinosaurs too. This guy was lagging. Sorry, it took us some time. I know Matchu will come back. Yes, Cyberzoic Dragon. I have been saving for that because I knew it would hit, and it's on the horizon, and we'll be talking about that soon. Nolan, so good to see you as usual. How do you all do this with such skill, man? I'm so slow at this. Cobweb, good to see you. Bearded Bills, thank you so much for checking it out. Yay, I know you came for the Matchu. Hope you didn't leave when Matchu did. Hopefully he's coming soon. Seems like there was some, it sounded like an audio thing because on my end it said device not connected. So we'll see. Allison Troy, good to see you today. We are party people. Earlier in the day, we were Children of the Corn. You back?
Yeah, sorry about that. My mixer is acting up like I don't know. I took it on to a shoot yesterday and it's been acting strange.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's always rough when you disconnect stuff and you're putting it
Mhm.
back, and yeah, for showtime. I hear you. Cool. Well, I hope the equipment's good because I know that's I know what that's like. Ray Black, good to see you. Thank you for hanging out. Oz, haven't seen you since what, this morning and last night. That sounded more scandalous than it needed to. Let's see. Diggs Figs. Oh my god, this guy is here because man, that's some talent right there, as you'll all see today. And let's see who else. It's gonna blow. All right. Did I get everybody? I'm going. I'm zooming. I think I might have. If I missed anyone, I'm so sorry. But let's go ahead and jump into the news. And yeah, welcome back, man. People are happy you're back. And if you missed it, you got a direct shout out right here. saying
Bearded.
What's up from Bearded. Okay. So again, you see that stupid scrolling thing. I hope you get that. We'll go ahead and move that out of the way for a second. Thank you for watching. And let's go ahead and jump into some news. So we usually will start off with the stuff that we are checking out. So this is the stuff, the stuff that has been seen, the newsy type stuff, or the stuff that just sort of caught our attention. First off, man, it's Toy Fair out in New York, and it's always sort of tripped me out, right? This is like more of like intended to be more of like an industry show, right? Less about like a Comic-Con where folks are, just there as fans. So I always laugh at sort of the corporate branding kind of thing, but it really is for all kinds of toys, right? It's not just for nerds that are specifically in action figures. But there's a ton of news there. And as I was, I share regularly, this is called Brick Something News, aka BS News. So we're going to kind of do newsy stuff, but by no means is this exhaustive. There's plenty of other great channels that are doing that. But unfortunately, you're stuck with me today. So I just kind of want to talk about some just cool little things that I've seen. And so this was NECA stuff off of Preternia.com's coverage. Just to give you an overview specifically of the turtle stuff. Are you a big Turtles guy at all?
Yes, but not as big as Turtles guys, my co-hosts on our show.
Yeah.
I leave most of that stuff to him. I collect here and there. I mostly just collect all like most versions of the Turtles, not all like the deep cut characters like the cartoon line has to offer. Like there's a lot, like there are characters there that appear on the cartoon for like 5 minutes, right?
Yeah. So you've got like the Turtles and different versions of the Turtles, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it started out with the movie Turtles, the 7-inch ones that came out, like I think it was GameStop that I got them from.
Okay.
And then eventually after that, I got the Toon Turtles, the Disguise Pack one.
Yep.
And then I got the SHF Cartoon Turtles, then the Revoltech Turtles. So it's a lot of different versions of the Turtles. Like I got the what was that other one? The IDW ones that came from Loyal Subjects. Those actually are much better than their cartoon versions, I feel like. They also have like their own unique sculpts, which I dug.
So like it's funny, you just mentioned a bunch from a bunch of different companies. But as you pointed out, like that doesn't even scratch the surface of the amazing, like the turtle stuff that's out there. And the turtles like just never went away. Like I remember growing up in the 80s and then the 90s, just sort of like it started off as Mirage, the comic books. I remember my brother bringing home the graphic novel and just like reading about these Mousers, and it was all black and white with a cover, and they all had red bandanas. And then to kind of see it blow up. And so if you're looking on the screen right now, like it's amazing to me that NECA, you know, they started doing their thing, and they've done what you just listed, even though you named a couple of different companies, but they had the movie ones, they had the comic ones, like in the Last Ronin, as you're seeing there, they had cartoon ones, and they have like, wow, these, right?
It's showing Reimagining Play for a New Day on my screen.
Oh, duh. Oh, shoot. That's funny. That wasn't intended. Sorry about that. That whole time I'm talking and we were stuck looking at that ugly corporate thing. Sorry. But no, this stuff, right? There's the movie stuff. Oh, it looks like our Pinoy brother there fell down. Looks like a bunch of them fell over. Fell over. They got attacked by the Foot Clan. But then they got the comic stuff. And now they're doing these, that giant Krang. But like, it just amazes me to see how deep they've gone. Yeah, look at that split and the colors on these cartoon ones. Look at that. But there's one figure in here that I especially wanted to highlight. You're talking about deep cuts. So this is all cartoon stuff we're seeing right now. But when they get to the comic stuff, I remember there was a character that was a total homage, and he's right here in a green sweater and blue jeans coming up soon. He was a comic book artist there he is right there. I can't pause it, but that guy right there, his name was Kirby, and he was an homage to Jack Kirby. And they're making a Kirby figure, effectively Jack Kirby figure. It's so cool. It just, I love it. I don't actually collect it myself at all. Like there's some great stuff.
It's dangerous to collect all that stuff, right? Like you fall in a hole and then you're like, I need them all, right?
But they're gorgeous, man. NECA has just done such a good job of, it's just like, it's not like, oh yeah, their movie stuff's good, but their cartoon stuff sucks, or their Mirage. No, it's all good, and they're all have different sort of art directions. So
yeah,
just wanted to look at that. Some cool stuff that was at a toy fair. And then I will say this is also at the NECA booth. This is through Ultrazilla, a channel that I love, but these are, we haven't talked long. Like, I don't know, but I'm an old guy. I'm 47. So I was born in 76. Okay. Do these resonate with you at all? Do they look like what they're wearing?
I think they look cool.
Yeah. Do they feel familiar, or is that something you're familiar with?
I know the ones in the jackets. I know them from the memes.
Okay.
Right? I remember them from memes. The cartoon, I was like, I was born in 86.
Okay.
So the cartoon is a bit like fuzzy for me, because like it was like I was really young. But I was I was obsessed with turtles as a kid. I feel like my parents showed me it, and it's what shut me up. Right? Like you sat me on the TV before school, and like that would shut me up, and I was all over turtles. But like I kind of like grew out of it. Right? Like as time goes on, there was so many things thrown at us as kids.
Yeah.
To sell merch.
Yep.
Right? And turtles was a big thing growing up. And I feel like turtles is more now like a generational thing. Every generation has their form of turtles.
Yes. That's right. I mean, it really does. Like between like, it just, like I said, it just kept going, right? It was sort of the original stuff, and then it moved into the movies, and then it was the series on Nickelodeon. It was just like all sorts of versions, and they changed every time. And I think there's a lesson to be learned there in terms of some of these IPs, that like it's okay to reinvent yourself for particular generations. And clearly something's working, man. It's such a weird concept to think that it's worked so well too, which started off as a Daredevil riff, right?
Yeah, right.
To be like, and it was a joke. I remember they were just drawing them as jokes, and they were like, yeah, let's do like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And there's something, maybe the simplicity or the wildness of it that just resonates with kids. Anyways, there's that. And so here's another one that might be something that ages me and not you. What about these?
See, these I don't know. Like,
Okay. So again, born in 76. When I was little, this is more my brother who's older than me, 5 years older. But I remember as a little kid on Halloween, there were these costumes. They're like plastic aprons basically and a mask.
okay,
And
yeah,
these are the Ben Cooper kids, right? Ben
okay,
Cooper was the manufacturer. So they're doing this whole line of these kids in these sort of like costumes. You get the mask, and then you'd have the apron that was usually more like this guy here, where it would have like the name of the thing in case you didn't know what the mask was. So it's just like these little figures that are just built around that. And that to me, it's so weird and trippy in a weird meta way. It's like NECA gets the weirdest licenses, but does such a good job with them. It's like, well, what if we took some kids who were wearing some branded Universal Monsters costumes back in the day? Some of them are Universal, and made action figures of them. And I'm one of those people that'll buy them. And based on what I'm hearing the chatter online, there's a lot of old folks like me who are like, "Wow, those are kind of cool. They're doing those." I'm not sure though if they actually made these costumes or if these are sort of they look way too cool compared to the ones that I remember. Like the graphics are definitely much more on point, but I might be wrong.
Okay. They might be like updated, like they did their own take on it, right?
Kinda, yeah, because this art's cool, man. I love the faces on this mummy. It's just like, and then even here, it's very in that style in the late 70s sort of cartoon. But anyway, Halloween's coming up. We should move on, but just NECA's doing some fun stuff.
I think they look cool. Like,
Yeah. No, for sure. And I'll tell you right now, Machi, that's my thing. I'm not a completist on anything. I'm old enough to be like nostalgic about certain things, but also wanting to like check out new things. So so again, not covering it all, but I couldn't resist this because Ghost in the Shell is one of those properties that I've always super been into. Like I don't even know what's going on here because my mind just went straight to Kusanagi, the major. You familiar with Ghost in the Shell much?
a little bit.
Okay.
I remember my sister was really big into that.
Nice. Oops, and this is via Toy Arc, so thank you, Toy Arc. And oh my god, I'm not trying to apologies, folks. No disrespect. Not prudish or anything, but you know, there's other parts of the human body that we could focus in on. Hold on, let me figure out what's going on here. All right, there's the major.
There we go.
You know, and it's got some interesting like cuts and stuff, you know, that like, okay, but I am interested. This is from Haya.
So is this 1/18th scale or this is 1/12th, right?
I believe this is 112. Yeah, 6-inch.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. I've always been intrigued by her as a character because you know, cybernetic, the notion that she's in a cybernetic body and that she's just sort of like a programmed or a memory, her ghost, right? Of her personality is put in these things. So always loved that, and her body like inevitably always gets destroyed at some point in no matter what version of the story is being told. But I've always thought she'd make for a cool action figure, and the whole world would make for some great toys. Very like Blade Runner-esque, meets some, you know, like real deep, more modern cyberpunk stuff. But oh, the soft goods looks pretty cool. You know, it's not necessarily the most tailored thing, but I don't know. I'm intrigued by it, and I can just think about the possibilities. She would do like the cloaking thing and be invisible and stuff. And
so is there a torso, like her, I guess their corset or one piece, is that those are soft goods? Because it looks like those are sculpted, right?
those are sculpted.
Is it those? Yeah, because there's a cut there, you know.
Yep.
And then it I don't know, when it's like mixed media like that, sometimes it works, but I think the jacket might just be a little bit too big.
Yeah.
Like it,
I think so too.
like the stitching is like really noticeable, so it kind of takes away from it like being that scale.
Yep. And maybe it's also there. I know there's a little bit of this 80s like shoulder pathing, but no, I agree with you.
Right.
It looks too big. It does look too big. But I'm intrigued. I'd love to sort of see. I hope they get to do more characters because there's some really cool characters, especially once they sort of demonstrate some of the like cybernetics and stuff, or some Tachikomas, these little like tanks that they got, AI tanks. Anyway, you see a lot of the articulation. That usually doesn't bother me too much. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think the only High Toys figure I have is like one of their 118th, like the 118th. I think it was a RoboCop.
Oh yeah. The one in the chair, is that the one in the chair, or just the
No,
RoboCop?
it's just the RoboCop.
Gotcha.
Like I only knew them as like the smaller figures, but like now I've seen that they've been diving into 1/12 scale, which
Yeah.
I've been like tempted to like try them out, but like we'll see.
It's hard with the trying out thing. If you're like me, I love to try do that, but like there's so much stuff out
Right.
there. Like, yeah, as we're about to see. So the trying out kind of you got to be a little more selective, right? It's more like, hey, you try it out and let me see it later.
Right. Like you'll wait for somebody to do a review or just take pictures of it.
Totally. This was from Trick or Treat Studios. Now this is totally like old person thing, but actually, so this is based on a band. Are you familiar with the band GWAR? GWAR?
I've heard of them, yes, but I'm
Okay.
not like too familiar with them.
Yeah, so it's like it's sort of the hard rock metal variety,
Yeah.
but with like a sci-fi interdimensional, I think it's interplanetary, like storyline characters. So it's like, if like Kiss got really gross and intense, that's kind of like what GWAR is. And by gross, it's like, you go to their shows and you get splashed with bodily fluids of all varieties. Not
Yes,
real, but
that I've heard. Yes. Yeah.
okay.
I've heard people say that.
Yeah, and if you look closely at some of these sculpts, you see some of where those things are. If you're familiar and you kind of know where to look, but if you don't, they're just cool looking like creatures. But yeah, what were you say?
Somebody said, definitely do not zoom in.
Don't do zoom. I mean, there's what is that, like a slug? Yeah, it might be a slug. But yeah, these things are, it's,
Interesting.
I look at them. Yeah, I like creatures. So
Mhm.
I've always, even as a kid, when I would see, I'm older than a kid. I really wasn't into the music, but I was into the spectacle, and I had to go check them out live once I was sort of old enough to kind of like make my own stupid decisions. And dude, it's definitely an experience. But just the spectacle, it's kind of like it's like walking onto like a movie set for like a Jim Henson production, but like with loud music and just stupidity in the best, the best way possible. And yeah, like there, he's got like a little slug that he carries around with him. If you know. And but cool sculpting. Again, for me, it's more like, wow. I was talking to some folks about this, like, it took them long enough because these characters are like made for action figures, right? Like they just
Right.
look like they're big, living, breathing action figures. So
I think it took them long enough mostly because after the pandemic, everybody's like, oh, it's the adults that are buying toys now. So
sure,
these are not like stuff that you would make for kids,
yeah.
right?
Unless you're a sick puppy, yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. So these are cool, and I totally realized. Sorry, folks, I just got caught up in the chat, but I'll kind of like catch up. But yeah, man, there have been all sorts of this. I just realized that like I went from kids in Halloween costumes to dude with a slug between his legs. But and along the way we stopped off with you know, crotch shots of anime women. So my bad. And to be clear, nope, that was not a Scarlett Johansson figure. I don't know why you'd bring up Scarlett Johansson while I was talking about Ghost in the Shell. I don't think there's any connection
None.
whatsoever. Yeah. Again, Allison, I have no idea what you're talking about. I know this wasn't referring to the Guar figures, but one has to wonder, how soft are those goods? Let's see. Guar, do not zoom in. Why? What could we possibly see? Well, the nice thing is, since we're in the safety of our homes, you don't have to worry about wearing an apron or any kind of poncho to protect yourself against the fluids. So, yes, so they are essentially an institution at this point out of Richmond, VA, or Virginia, and so just like they, you know, the band kept going, and they replaced the singer who passed away. Hashtag yes, they were seen. But yeah, it's just, again, unbelievable that we actually haven't seen them. Dare I mentioned Kiss sort of already, but you know, much like Kiss had action figures, it's always intrigued me that we hadn't seen these. But you're right. I think a lot of it has to do with the adult nature. I don't know much about. I actually don't know much about the company Trick or Treat Studios, but they definitely seem to do a lot more like Trick or Treat. Like, is it? I don't know if they like intentionally do like just monster stuff because that's their forte, but it's definitely their forte. So anyway, moving on to maybe something a little more kid friendly. Let's I just want to breeze over this really quickly. This is a display at Toy Fair right now in New York, in your neck of the woods. Are you stopping by there at all, or
no?
Or did
no,
you?
I think
stop?
today was the last day,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. I
Did
think
you? Sorry.
I would have loved to go in there, but I don't think I can get in. Right? You have to be invited in.
There are folks like media folk. So I actually don't know. But I know that there were a lot of like sort of YouTube people there, probably with media passes. So I don't know. But you're saying it's by invite only?
I think it might be like you have to be either like retailer or like you said, like people who are in social media who cover toy news, right?
Yeah.
And like I don't really do coverage of toy news.
Sure. What do you think of these? Have you messed around with any plunderlings?
I have a few of them. Well, like I have that regular one. I have that exclusive one. I've messed around with the Plunder Strong at one of the toy shows in Jersey because they're like, I think they're like they're local. And I thought it was pretty cool. I missed out on the pre-order or the Kickstarter for the Plunder Longs and Plunder Strongs. Yep. So I'm just gonna see if I could just pick one up, like if I see them at a show.
And you're going to Legion's Con, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
they'll be there.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty cool. I mean, I love. I'm a fan of sort of different scales in a line. I'm partial to the sort of like standard tiny plunderlings because they're just so cute. And these guys, so the big ones weren't necessarily something I was jumping on. This is the only plunderling I have, is a little the fawn back there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I think they're really cool. They're really uniquely designed. They kind of straddle that like cute and kind of like
and fun, right?
Yeah,
cute and fun. Like you could have them on your desk.
Yep. They move so well. They're like fun to pose, and they come with all sorts of cool accessories. And one of the early domestic lines to kind of incorporate like magnets for accessories and stuff. The hats and stuff. Cool stuff. That's all. And here's one of the ones that are now sort of like arriving That was, like, as you mentioned, a Kickstarter.
Mhm.
Anyway, they were there at New York. They were
Mhm.
doing their thing. Jada was there.
That big Plunder Strong, he actually moves pretty well because I got to handle the prototype. And like
Yeah.
the way the torso moves and articulate, like it really moves surprisingly well for a bigger figure. You would think that it wouldn't.
And when we say bigger figure, because it's relative, because the Plunderlings are so tiny, but how
Yeah, they're
big are
tiny.
these guys actually?
So they're probably about like
Maybe like a 7-inch figure or a little
like
taller?
closer to a 7-inch figure, probably maybe a little
Okay.
taller than 7-inch figure.
Yeah. Yeah, they're cool. I love just sort of checking out engineering and stuff. I was really
Mhm.
impressed with the little guy I got. Just way too much fun. So,
And they
Oh.
you can interchange the accessories from like Legion's figures because they fit in their hands, you know, like the weapons.
yep. Yeah, the sort of sea monster ones look great. The
Mhm.
transparent ones look good. Josh is waiting for his plunders to come through. And yeah, they're all on BBTS, and you know, not too bad in terms of the markup.
Yeah.
And yeah, it definitely adds, like, if you're trying to add it to Mythic Legions, because they've got that kind of like, you know, fantasy vibe to them.
Right.
Definitely add some. I like this. I hadn't actually heard this, but it, like, when you say that, Ray, it's like, oh
Kind
yeah,
of.
duh, totally.
Yeah.
It's the Smurfs,
It
the
works.
Snorks, and the Plunderlings. All right, moving. Again, just for some real quick updates, because I have been super into the one Street Fighter Fei Long figure I have, and I've just been sort of looking at all the cool stuff that Jada's been doing with that line. But the next thing, actually, not even the next thing. I think the cereal ones are the next, right? Or the Cheetos, Chester Cheetos.
Yes, I think the Cheetos comes out pretty soon.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah. And then so it's speaking of Plunderlings, it's a very similar sort of like form factor and that cuteness, like
Mhm.
a little bit of that anime, little super deformed kind of, like, I love these. I'm intrigued. I kind of want to see what they're like, but if they move anything like that Street Fighter figure, these are going to be really fun. You see,
I have
like,
them
the
pre-ordered on BBTS.
nice. When are they saying those are supposed to roll in?
I think it should be by the end of this year, right?
Okay.
Because
And
I
I'm
know
gonna appreciate.
Chun-Li just converted on BBTS, right?
Okay.
And then yeah, I think they should be soon. Probably November.
Okay. And I love that they're given all of this stuff, right? The ways to display, like,
Yeah. The
Ryu
way
has the way to hold up the effect, and it's such a cool addition to each of the figures, right? Get yourself a little
I love the
scene.
packaging. Like
Mhm.
the Street Fighter boxes, they like you can put them back in the boxes if you wanted
Yep.
to, like with no problem at all.
I love it. It's like the Legion stuff. Unfortunately, it makes you keep a bunch of stuff that you probably don't need to, but yeah, they're really
Yeah.
cool. All the little hands. Um, the shiny thing is interesting. I don't. Of course, that makes sense given what these things are a little bit meant to be, like they little robots, but for some reason in my brain I hadn't really translated it to that. So
Mm.
interesting. It's cool. So looking forward to those, but yeah, still in the news section, man. Like, there's a bunch of stuff going on. So in Asia, in Shanghai, is Wonderfest or Wonder Festival, and again, there's so much stuff to look at. But I just wanted to focus in on this. Speaking of Street Fighter, I know you were looking at these too. This is this first one. Is this by 5K? Yeah, 5K. Whoever does their IG was there and sort of posted this stuff. The Storm collectibles section. Do you have a bunch of Storm stuff?
I only have the Mortal Kombat stuff. I have like
Okay.
Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Liu Kang.
And
And I have Zangief, the Zangief from Street Fighter.
God, I keep going back and forth on whether or not I'm going to get one of those, any one of those, because they're so good.
I would say, yeah, do the Zangief. He's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and so like I love big, gigantic, oversized characters, and that
Mhm.
sort of attracts me to what's going on with these. And I look at Blanca, man, that's the first thing I was like,
Looks
whoa.
so good. Yeah, he sticks out.
And it took so, I mean, if you're in a storm, it's a little bit of a wait in between characters.
Right.
But I like them. I love the engineering. A lot of folks like feel like, you know, they comment on kind of like that rubbery feel and how sometimes it gets a little bit wonky when you're posing them up. But I don't know, they're just so different from the other stuff that I have that
Mhm.
I was I was different in a good way. Like I was like, wow, this is cool. Like this a different way of thinking about action figure construction.
Right.
So God, look at that guy. I only assume, like, based on some of the what else this thing could come with based on some of the other figures, but I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah.
Hopefully, do you see somebody in the back there?
No, I'm just trying to see, like, it looks like, is that, like, on the in front, is that, like, a different head sculpt that's in the bag? Because it looked like
Um,
Zangief's hair. Not Zangief, Blanca's hair.
Blanca hair. Yeah, I was wondering about that too, but they were like here, and I wasn't sure. Like, are these maybe effects? But they look like alternate hair, so maybe these are heads. I'm not
Mhm.
sure. I don't know if folks know in the chat. But yeah, Storm is again shying away from the women. Yeah, man, they're slow, but um, Josh is right. You can't argue with a $25 option that looks solid, like super on model with a video game.
Right. And moves
You
well
know,
too.
beautiful. I was so surprised at how that Fei Long moves, and it should, because it's Fei Long, right? Like I
Mhm.
want to get him in the, you know, full on
He
poses. So
he moves better than the Ryu.
yeah, Ray's thinking that they're effects. Yeah, maybe that is
Mhm.
like for the Ryu that you see on the right there. But yeah, that must be. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, they're. And I'm not familiar with these, so like I actually haven't been following Street Fighter past like the first couple of games. Are
Mhm.
these characters? Do they look familiar to you, or are these from another fighting game?
So
Of the
that
many
one
that
that's
they have.
that one that's next to between Blanca and Ryu, I think
Hmm.
he's from Street Fighter 6.
Okay, so these are newer
But I
characters.
don't know who the other people are on, the other
Yeah.
side of Blanca.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's a
Sorry,
Fei Long
folks.
back there too.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering if you saw him, because they're bringing a Fei Long. There's just some of the other things at their booth, and I'll get to that in a second. That's oh well, actually, I'll come back to that. So here's the
Mhm.
Ryu. This is from Storm's coverage. Again, from Street Fighter 6. I'm not familiar with this look at all, but he looks cool.
He does.
Um, I love that. I'm usually into soft goods for things like this sort of cape, but um, it looks dynamic. It's cool. Unfortunately, it'll be like frozen there forever, but
Yeah.
it's cool. And then I think yeah, there you go. It looks
That's
good,
cool.
man. The face
Yeah.
looks great. Um, I mean, it's Storm. They move just as well. I have a Liu Kang, and so I
Mhm.
have my Liu Kang Storm next to my Fei Long Jada, and mimicking each other's poses. So like
Right.
they're both just as capable. Fei Long moves a little bit more and can do a little bit more.
Mhm.
Um, but man, if this
That
wasn't
is
so big, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
that is something that I noticed with the Liu Kang was like, one of the things that was missing was like the ability to swivel the ankle, because like it's
Mhm.
just you can only move it up and down,
Yep.
right? Um, that would definitely help. And it looks like they have the same problem here with the Fei Long.
Yeah, it looks like it, and then down here. Yep, totally. You're 100% right.
And I'm wondering if they just no, they didn't reuse that because it's a different sculpt on the shin. But maybe they, it just because it looks like the feet could be the same.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's probably gonna move like Liu Kang. Exactly.
Yep.
right?
Everybody's saying he's jacked, and it's like, you ever see like Bruce Lee was like that, man. He'll be standing up and real slender, and then he'll do one of these, and all of a sudden these like muscles pop out of nowhere.
Right. It
Wild.
reminds me of the movie, the animated movie.
Totally.
Right? Not the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, but like the animated movie that came out around the same time. What was it, 94?
Yes. That was the first. Yeah. Never knew Bruce Lee was a Vulcan. With like Charles Xavier's eyebrows. But yeah, no, they look cool. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with these. But I did want to sort of quickly go back to this, because this is from a game that I've covered. I'm actually really looking for. It's a Konami game. I'm forgetting the name, but it's sort of a Metroidvania kind of thing. That's sort of in this spooky, ghostly, demony samurai kind of world. It's like a really old game that I didn't know about the game, but I'm intrigued by the figures.
What's
but
the name of the game?
Here, I could probably I'll figure it out as we talk and probably come back. I've covered it before.
I've seen that before, but I just don't remember what it's from.
Yeah, and I don't know that it was like a game that was huge here. At least like it was never on my radar. Not that like I necessarily know and follow everything, but let's see. I'll find it here it is, because I was really intrigued by this character who for the longest time I actually thought was a woman, but apparently not. Getsu Fumaden, Undying Moon. And so this is all from the same game. And I was just really intrigued when I saw this figure, knowing that it's Storm. I was like, oh, that thing is cool. I know nothing about the character, but just this notion of like this chest cavity that is like a skull, essentially. And then there is another one. So it's like your standard like Konami blue, red, right? Blue player option, red player option. But that cool armor, chest armor. Anyway, I digress, but that's where you'll see this thing. And so when they showed this thing, it's like, oh, what is that? That is so weird. It's from the game. I only know the game having watched like people playing it online like years after. But you see it, you see it here. And if you're into the game, you're looking for cool things like to fill up your shelf. It's just kind of neat. And that's my main reason to show. It's like, man, we not only get cool figures, but more and more we're getting like these, we talked about the Mega Man accessories, right? That kind of build out these little worlds on our shelves.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I know it's trippy, it's weird stuff, but anyway, moving on. I didn't really have much else to cover from Wonderfest. There's so much, but that's it. For me, the big news this week, starting tomorrow, actually, is it tomorrow or the 3rd? It might be Tuesday, is the launch of this Kickstarter, Cyberzoic. Are you at all familiar with Creative Beast Studios or Beasts of the Mesozoic? They do those like really hyper realistic, according to the latest science, dinosaurs, like the ones with feathers and stuff.
Were they at Legions Con last year?
Yes,
because I think I saw that. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, they're at Legions Con. I guess they've been, and so last year they showed the dragon like that. I think that was probably So that's this line, and they're gonna they're starting off with a Kickstarter this week. I believe it's the 3rd. And so this is some concept art, and you can see there's dragons involved, and there's these saber-toothed cats or smilodons with armor, and then there's figures as well. So here is that thing in render, and the armor all comes off. Again, their thing has been like these hyper realistic dinosaurs. And so they're moving into other eras, and including, these old gigantic mammals, prehistoric mammals. And so you'll see here, like they're talking about like the Kickstarter is coming soon. This was 5 days ago. It should be coming out this week, and we'll see that right here. October 3rd. That's this Tuesday. Yeah, man.
That looks so cool.
It's gonna be about 200. They have the prices and everything elsewhere. And I can
200
share
for the
just
dragon?
for the dragon.
I mean, look at the size of that thing, right?
Yep.
Because
Yeah,
I remember
mean,
seeing pictures of it, and it's like huge.
okay, confession. Have you ever paid about close to $100 for a single 112 to 110 action figure?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
I think
It's okay.
this
Yeah,
grail,
I mean,
little
yeah.
stitch,
Oh, I love it.
pricey get.
Yeah. So
Like
cool.
he was on my list of grails to pick up, but like, yeah, I mean, the problem with me right now is space. Is like trying to
Sure.
figure, like, like getting, like, I'm also very, very big into Star Wars. Like half my collection wall is all Star Wars.
Mhm, mhm.
Like backing the Ghost, like I have the Razor Crest. I barely know where to put that. The Millennium Falcon that I just picked up is huge, and I don't know where to pick that up. And everybody's like, you should just stick to CVC because it's smaller. You'll save so much space. But no, but you buy all the ships. So
Yep.
but
Yep.
like this looks cool. Like I kind of want these.
Yeah. And there are even better pictures. Like, so Josh Brown is saying with that, the armor of that Smilodon, he thinks they transform. I'm not 100 on the Smilodon, but that it might be, because that is a thing that they've been talking about. And we'll look at some of the other ones in a little bit, where definitely the armor transforms into like robotic creatures as well. Here's this dragon with somebody you recognize, and this is a TVC figure, so it's smaller.
Okay.
For scale. It's not a Black Series.
I was worried. I'm like, is that a Black Series Boba Fett?
No. But I showed this last week, but just to kind of remind you what all is going to be in this thing, and that you can kind of, once I get the links up, you'll be able to follow through and sort of check out what these things are all about, as I pointed out earlier. But there's stuff here with the story in terms of like where these dragons come from, etc. This is like the paint master, or the it's like basically a concept maquette, and you can kind of see these raptors that work from their other line, which is really cool. They're not like, this is almost like an add-on to their existing line of dinosaurs. Here's the pic I wanted to show.
Yes, that's the picture I saw, and I was like, oh my god,
where'd you go? Sorry. This one, holy, like, if you just, these are the things that are going to be included, and I think there's a couple of other pieces that aren't here, including that dragon we were just looking at. But this thing right here, what's underneath that, and I can show you that in a little bit, is just one of their dinosaurs that like looks very much like it fits in the Beast of the Mesozoic. And then this armor can transform into like a little ship, a little flying ship. This thing right here, did you see this little creature?
Yeah,
the robotic creature is the armor that's on this one right here. So it transforms. Yes.
That's really
so
cool. Now that little figurine, like the person looking dude in the armor.
Oh, yep.
Is that, what scale is that? That's not 112 though, right?
It is. I don't know that it's true 112 or if it's larger. But these are. I'm trying to remember if I saw a comparison shot with other figures. We'll see. We'll dig around just for a little bit before moving on. But these this raptor here, like I said, this is not a new mold for this dinosaur. This is their existing Beast of the Mesozoic mold. So if you get this armor, you can totally put it on any of those figures. But these are about, I mean, it looks like it would sort of fit in with.
Josh Brown says it's 118th.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll trust Josh Brown before I'll trust me. Yeah, and other folks are saying that as well. So if that's the case, great, because that means I'm saving some money, because I'm going to be spending too much on the dragon and these dinosaurs, which I'm trying to remember my. Yeah, I guess that makes sense because the raptor is not a big dinosaur. Like it's
Okay.
it's a little bit bigger than the raptors that you might think of when you think of Jurassic Park toys.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes sense. They did have gray models of 6-inch versions of the two main characters of PowerCon, but no 6-inch mounts. Got it. Because that would be
Yeah.
insane. I could deal with some insanity. The dragon definitely looks good.
It
I've
does
been
look
staring
really
at that
good.
thing for years now, and just like, okay, I know I'm going to be spending on this thing. And
I
you
like
can
the
kind of see.
Sabertooth also in that picture.
Yes. Yep. I'm all about these, and you can see the dinosaur.
Mhm.
What that'll look like. That's about. It's a little smaller, I want to say, than based on what I've seen of this dinosaur before, than the Hammond T-Rex.
Okay, I
Just a
have that,
little
yeah.
bit. This, sorry, we've seen it already, but they're
I
for
know, but
scale.
it looks so majestic.
So yeah, that makes sense. 118, but yeah, absolutely. The everything from the sculpt to the colors, yeah, and the
Yeah.
mix of the scales that might be feathers again, just so cool. Like when I think dragon, this isn't how I would think, right? I think like
Mhm.
greens, and so I really appreciate that they went with this overall look. It reminds me of, and I guess that keeps in line with their Beasts of the Mesozoic, where they're, I don't know if you know, like they're, they have the feathers.
Mhm.
So when they paint, they usually will take a real, not a real, these are meant to be real, a modern day bird as inspiration and use their colors and their patterns
Okay,
when
that's
they're
pretty cool.
projecting it on their dinosaur. So you definitely see the sort of plumage here.
Mhm.
There you go.
There's that Sabertooth. Yeah. Though that looks like it moves really nicely too.
Interesting cuts here. Yeah, that looks like just one big chunky cut for the joint.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I love my stuff to move. Definitely. But I also like, some of my favorite lines aren't the most articulated, but look amazing.
Mhm.
So anyway, we should move on because time is a thing, and just I could get stuck on that. Not at all to like breeze through this, but that's not the only Kickstarter that's hitting. I believe this thing is just launched. It did launch 2 days ago.
Okay. Yeah.
So Shartimus has, I believe this is like his second attempt to kind of get this thing moving via Kickstarter. They reworked some
Right.
stuff and now they're back. And
These look good
it's,
too.
yeah, I think, and they're sized with Marvel Legends, right? So
Mhm.
you could slide these in with that set of things. I love, the fact that like, yeah, they're doing like, let's do these characters of color that are mixed in with these sort of like, fantasy creatures, like
Mhm.
anthropomorphic in their own way, like not quite AWOC, which is one of my things,
Mhm.
but yeah, and there's definitely this like this, God, I don't know. It's just like this is like the folks that I kick it with here to a certain extent. This is like maybe a Hollywood-ish version. But like, they're folks here, like here in the city, here in San Francisco or
Mhm.
whatever. I know Shartimus is nearby. He's nearby where I live,
Oh,
like really nearby. And so like, yeah, I can see where he's drawing some inspiration in, but still doing it in a very Marvel Comics kind of way.
yeah.
Cool to
I'm
see these folks
interested
of
to
color,
see how
shaved
they
heads.
move,
Yeah.
right? Because like it's some interesting cuts. Like
Mhm.
I believe it has like a lower hinge, right? And then the ball jointed upper
Drop
torso.
down the leg. Uh-huh. Oh, a lower hinge around,
The
you know,
torso, yeah.
right there.
There.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So it's like a two, so that's bending there, and then there's a
Yeah.
diaphragm up
It's
top
it's
that's on
almost
this.
like the Renew Your Vows buck from the
Mm-hmm.
Marvel Legends. But then they also have it so that way you could swap out the torso, so it's a ball joint.
Look at that
So
curvature.
that's interesting to me. I'll have to look more into this.
And
The
it's
only
funny
thing
because that actually mimics the anatomy. human anatomy
Right.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
With that sort of cut there and that sort of the, what do you call them? The real word for love handles. But yeah. Anyway, so that's that.
Obliques. That's what it is.
Obliques. Thank you. The things that I don't have. But yes. But those are a thing. And so it's just, I'm consistently intrigued by the quote unquote the indie toys that are just sort of popping up everywhere. And like, if I had my way, I'd love to just support them all. But you know, obviously we need to.
It's tough.
Resources are not infinite, but
Right.
where I can help by like showing people stuff and pushing them, like I will. But I think these are great. Like if you're as you are, a Marvel Legends collector, I could easily see these folks sort of being in that world and of that world, whether they're in their human form or their non-human form, right? They're almost like, I don't know, like the high evolutionaries creations or something, right? But they're also their own thing. So I like to sort of showcase just sort of art every now and then, and I've really been into Ahsoka. Are you at all following?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Really good show. One of my, I think it's probably my favorite show right now from Disney Plus. Like
That's awesome. I've heard that a lot from folks, and I'm glad to hear that. Aside from tell me like do you have a particular flavor that you prefer of Star Wars when it comes to live action movies?
Okay, so growing up watching OT, right? And I always watched them like, you know, it would be running on Syndicate, like on TNT, like during the day, right? I know every time it's playing on TV, I would just stop and watch it. I did like Clone Wars. I did really, really like Clone Wars. I like the fact that Dave Filoni drags the story out more and gives you more filler in between like each saga, like the like the prequels. Like it went from Clone War, Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith, but you really don't get that much context of what happened in the war, but like you filled it in with the Clone Wars show. And you really grew, like these characters grew on you, like Ahsoka, Rex.
Yep.
He does a really good job at doing that.
Absolutely. And I will say that's like it sounds like we have slightly different flavor interests. So that's why I'm like really interested to sort of hear like what are people's favorites. I love Ahsoka. And all of that. I love all Star Wars. The world itself, I love. I may not like be a big fan of certain movies or whatever and like rewatch them, but the general story, I suck it up and I accept it. And I'm like, yeah, I suck it up in a good way. Not like, oh, I suck it up because it's so painful. More like, okay, I like where the overall story is going. I may not like the execution in certain things or whatever. Right. That said, what I'm really enjoying about this, and I think a lot of what Dave Filoni has done, I'm usually not a big Dave Filoni, like, it's less about him. I think he's super talented and appreciate his work. It's some of the maybe like reification, like, oh, Dave is everything kind of stuff that like, I'm just kind of like, slow down there a little bit. Like, just because I don't think that's particularly healthy. I didn't think it was healthy when people did it with George Lucas.
Right. Yeah.
That's just me.
If you like watch all like the behind the scenes stuff with like the original trilogy, you could see that like George Lucas had the idea. He just needed a good team surrounding him to really like flush it out. Right. Like a lot of people were saying that the original cut of Star Wars was all over the place, so they had to re-edit it.
And that was his ex that was doing that editing, who unfortunately, I think it's well documented because of the relationship, has sort of been a little bit excised out of the history of the franchise. But no, she did amazing work and clearly had to do a lot of work because we sort of saw so much of what's going on with Lucas's work, like later with Empire Strikes Back, right? That was a different director, and a lot of other people were involved. And then we got to the prequels, and again, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna relitigate the history of Star Wars or anything, but I just think people do well when they collaborate with others. Clearly, George Lucas made a dope sandbox, and I think even George Lucas like benefits from having others play with him and help him edit. So I would say the same goes for Filoni. Anyway, all of that to say is that the stories that Dave Filoni has told, particularly with the Clone Wars, you named it. Because at some point George was like in the middle of the prequels and realized he mentioned this thing called the Clone Wars, which is this big moment. And then was like, oh crap, I only got one more movie. Like, how am I going to show you this big epic thing that had galactic proportions?
Which was the opening scene.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was the biggest part of it, was when they were like over Coruscant, right? They were flying over Coruscant.
So when you said filler, like literally he was called in to help fill in some huge gaps, but in good ways, not in the like, oh, filler, like, but
no, and like when it came to the prequels, like when it first came out, like what was it, like early 2000s, was not a huge fan of them when it first came out. I was not. I'll say that right now. I've grown to appreciate them. I don't know if I could sit through watching them, like, you know, a lot. To me, he was trying something different.
Yeah.
Right. The whole like CGI backgrounds and stuff. It was like, to me, it felt too clean for a prequel.
Totally.
In the prequels, right? But I guess that's what they were going for, because like it's supposed to be like worn down by the time the Empire is there.
Sure, but I've heard that too. But no, like, that's the legacy of Star Wars too. Is the development of technology and the way, even from the original trilogy, and then moving forward, now it's constantly pushing the technology of what we can do with filmmaking and now TV. So you're right. I'm right with you in terms of my concerns about the way it looked and maybe even some of the way the stories were told. But at the end of the day, respect, like it's great. So and then where I was going with the Filoni thing is like even Rebels helped fill in a little bit about what was happening post, sort of during, and the rest of the galaxy during the time of the Galactic Civil War, and then started to tease at the end of like, well, what happens when the Empire's gone, right? So they sort of showed that at the very end of Rebels. So now with Ahsoka, he fills that in. And I'm intentionally leaving Josh Brown's thing up there because no one needs to add him, because I'll one up him and say TLJ was not just good, it was great, it was excellent, it was wonderful Star Wars, and here we go, you can at me, one of my favorite Star Wars films. There you go. But also, I think Ahsoka is that, and I think I'm totally like, we're on a tangent because Star Wars will do that. But I think there are things being done in Ahsoka that, just like the Clone Wars cartoon did for the prequels and helped fill some things out, there is Ahsoka's doing similar work of bridging the OT and animated world to the sequels in a way, like showing us some of the stuff that, and again, I want to give proper credit. It's not just like, oh, Filoni, because I've been into the novels, I've been reading the novels that have come out since the new Disney canon, and they've done a good job of doing it there. It just hasn't been in front of people's faces on the screen.
Exactly.
And I think he's doing that. And I don't, I will challenge anyone who says like he's fixing anything. He's not fixing anything. He's picking up on a lot of threads that have already been laid out and giving some dope life to it. Anyways, I'm right there with you, Josh. So yeah, you're good, man. I'm not hanging you out to dry. I'm telling you, I'll step it up. And this dude seems to know you. What's up,
I know him too. I know that guy.
Yep. And I'm gonna leave Adam right there too and let you do your thing, sir, while moving on to another world, a little bit more indie. Actually, no, you can't be more indie than Star Wars, because people forget, even though it's owned by Disney and George Lucas built this massive empire, in many ways created indie film, right? With Star Wars.
Even though like the original Star Wars movie was a huge success when it first came out, like the sequel was still, like the Empire Strikes Back was still an indie movie.
Yep. Self-funded, had to work outside the studio system to a certain degree and get things done. And then the first two, to tie it all back to what we're doing today with the toys, that like really kind of reinvigorated toy collecting in the toy market in a way that like, there were toys before, some great toys before, but Kenner Star Wars just took things to a whole other level, to the point where we are now. But moving on, Zach Kinsella, friend of the channel, really dope artist. I love just his way of rendering things in his sort of style. I'm still trying to work with him to see if I can get he did these cool things I think it was during the lockdown, or maybe it's shortly after, where he was doing a drawing of all the different G.I. Joe characters in his own style. But he did a book called Outer Veil that he is sort of reworking and remastering and turning into a web comic. And I'm a fan of the art style, the colors, yeah. So, I just wanted to take the time. I've shown his work before, but I think he's one of the nicest, just really cool dude. And I'm always about trying to support good folks doing good work. So keep following, check Zach Kinsella again. You'll see the link later at the QR code and the URL that is coming back now at the bottom of the screen. But check it out and we'll move on. Speaking of comics, get yourself a free digital comic. If you know my channel, I talk way too much about Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. I talked a lot about it just earlier on Adam's channel. So all I need to tell you is get this free comic, and it's free. And did I mention free? And then I'll move on.
Wait, it's free.
Yes, because the story is the story is amazing, and people need to know it, and so much so that Adam and I built a whole series of shows around talking about the comic. Speaking of AWOC, custom AWOC toys are more and more becoming a thing, and I just wanted to highlight one or two today. I might just do one because of time. But this is by Endless Fables, or Brian. Happy birthday, by the way. It is his birthday.
Happy birthday.
But this is a figure that he sort of painted and has worked in some accessories from other lines. These are actually Savage Crucible parts that they were giving backers over at PowerCon.
Oh wow.
So he took them home and painted them, and man, they fit right in. Kind of created his own character, weird. And what I like about the way he sort of does these things, and I see more and more customizers doing this, they full on build backstories. It's like they have a vision of a character that they're that they're creating. Where's the rest of his stuff? Oh, that's awkward. Oh well, there were more, but we'll go back to them. So we'll go back to Endless Fables. Yeah, so and you can kind of see all this other stuff, but I just wanted to focus on this cool character and then one other. But there's the photography. You do toy photography as well, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I started as, with toy photography.
So I'm in awe of it, and I love when people kind of make their customs and then set up their shots. And I don't know. I had this old man moment, and I continue to have them where I will stop and go man, it's amazing what we can do. What we all can do now. Because you and I right now are essentially doing a TV show from our homes, right? And it's not even just a TV show. It's a live TV broadcast with audience interaction, right? Like they used to do back in the day with 30 people answering phones, but somehow we're doing that here. So when I look at
we
this
could also
stuff,
do it from the phone too, right?
Yeah.
You could use the phone to do the broadcast. That's crazy.
It's Star Trek stuff. But it's just so I look at this stuff and I'm intrigued that people can take their toys and customize them, right? So essentially someone from Savage Crucible, they're at PowerCon, they're meeting up with backers. They're like, hey, we printed out, or we have these prototypes of these pieces. Let me give them to you.
That's
right.
cool.
And now these toy collectors can like paint them and you know, and then bring them home and then do these little photo shoots with them. I'm just like, what is this world? And then publish them so that I can feature it in my TV show, basically, right?
Right.
It's freaking wild, man. It's it's pretty wild. So anyway, I just wanted to feature this stuff. I think it's really cool. There's one other character that he's got going just to quickly kind of show like this notion of like these makers not only like customizing, but then again, you can sort of see here the story. It's just kind of cool, man. It's like this is the kind of stuff that I was doing in my head as a kid.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no,
Like-
I got you. Like you're making a whole backstory for your custom figure. At the time, you don't even realize you're doing a custom figure, right?
Yep.
You're just making it yours.
Yep. And then in my head, I'm posing them, but in my brain, it's a TV show that I'm creating, right? I'm creating a story. And now the technology and production has caught up to allow people to actually do that.
And bring it to an audience.
Yep. Anyway, I'm just, I'm a believer in appreciating the world that we're in. Just a little side note. I do Lego. Did you ever do Lego? Is that a thing?
Yes, when I was a kid, I loved Lego, and like I got back into Lego because of toys, right? So like I have the BD. Where is he? I have him somewhere. Oh, he's up on my shelf
from Fallen Order.
Yeah, BD1, that one, and then I have a Mjolnir somewhere.
Meow meow.
I just took it off the shelf. Where did I put it?
Oh wait, was BD1 the one from the video game, or is that the little guy from? Oh no, it is. Yeah, it's BD1.
Yeah, from Fallen Order.
Yep. Very cool. So like, Ahsoka, spoiler alert, Thrawn's in it. And these are all renders. But I'm pretty sure. Yeah, these are figs that Firestar is probably going to be putting out. Yeah, it looks like Firestar Toys. I just kind of wanted to show it because I'm realizing, I'm called Brick Something, and I have so much connected to Lego, and I just don't do enough Lego content. But I look at it all the time. I'm like, you know what? Let's mix some worlds in, because it's always been amazing to me how you can capture the personalities of characters in this weird tiny format.
Right. It's crazy, and it's so detailed for a Lego figure, right?
Yep. Yeah, these are all custom. So there's a whole third-party custom world. Collectible minifigures, man. I've some of them like will be up there because people are making custom accessories and stuff. So I was very deep into that. So I still kind of follow it and look at it, and I love that. It's like a show comes out, just like action figure folks. Like folks are already trying to figure out how they're going to make minifigs and what parts to use and stuff. Anyway, all right. Let's shift gears a little bit and start to land, but sorry, we've been chatting so much I lost track of time. Let's look at sort of custom. Actually, no, we're not even there yet. This is still photos, man. Let me go back real quick. Diggs Figs. I know you're familiar, yeah?
Yeah. He does great work.
Yes.
He does great work.
So while we're looking at this, as you sort of got into toy photography, what do you sort of like look at when you're looking at other people's photos?
Mostly the posing and the lighting aspect of it, right? And how they tell the story. Like you can clearly see that it's Daredevil's, swinging in the jumping in like the streets of Manhattan, right? Particularly Hell's Kitchen.
Which is very different today than when the comic book started, but yes,
it is very different today.
Yeah, the lighting is wild. Like it's really well like staged, this thing. And so for a lot of these folks, they're going in after doing some post-production to kind of get rid of some stuff. Like I'm assuming he's on a stand maybe, or what do you think?
Yeah, he could probably be on a stand, or he could be hanging from something because you don't see the top, right?
Well, let's see. And so I just realized I didn't dig through all of these
So look, yeah, it looks like a collaboration with a bunch of other
Right.
toy photographers.
Yeah. But they're doing like different sort of like building a scene, yeah?
Right. Yeah.
Ah, that's so cool. I was just trying to see if he had a setup shot. No setup shot. But cool stuff, man. So again, just what you can do with your toys. I know that these toy companies are thinking about photography as sort of a newly developed play pattern, right? For these people who are buying their toys.
Right.
And I'm intrigued by that because I think if people are looking for things like articulation and are concerned about cuts in the body and pinless joints and stuff, I think the more that they see people are looking to photograph these things and will favor those kinds of things, will probably start to impact their thoughts around how they engineer these figures. But anyway, Diggs does amazing work. I just wanted to quickly show the two that caught my attention this week because, man, this Chainsaw Man is so cool. I had to throw it on the thumbnail.
I just picked that figure up like from the Tamashi store because like I heard a lot of good things. I don't know anything about the property really.
Oh, it's wild.
Yeah, that's what I hear. That's what everybody tells me. It's crazy.
Yeah,
right? I haven't started watching it yet or read the manga, but it moves so well, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Like no, I don't know any other figure that moves like that. And like it's SHF, so I'm familiar with SHF. So
yes,
but it moves
and this
really
thing
well.
it moves really well in the way that like. I mean, these things are so good that I'm so glad that folks like yourself and Diggs Figs are like showing these things, right? Showing what they look like, focusing on things, giving us cool close-ups, cool action poses to really highlight, like, I don't know. I mean, I know I get a little like geeky and heady about stuff, but these things are little works of art. Like if I took this thing back to like a time period, like where sculptors were trying to figure out the human form out of marble, and they sort of saw these things, I think they'd be pretty damn impressed, especially when they see these things sort of moving, because this is not just a figure in space, but like movement. And so who would have thought that like you could take this thing that's usually a two-dimensional, manga or anime, and bring it into 3 dimensions in this way? And the photographers like yourself are really, I don't know, it's cool. It's cool stuff. Love the setup. I love the chainsaw theme too. I don't know if folks clocked that, but Ash versus Chainsaw Man was pretty cool. Chainsaw versus chainsaw. But
I had this conversation with somebody else the other day, and I was like, when we were growing up as kids playing with the toys, this toy photography stuff is just us playing with the toys, and we're just taking photos and sharing it with the world. Growing up, we didn't really think about doing toy photography because it's like we had disposable cameras or Polaroids. I mean, you're not gonna go get the film developed like back then just because of your toys. Your parents be like, "What the hell you want me to do?"
Right.
Like, but like now,
and there isn't that instant nature of it either that would allow you to do the level of experimentation that you could here of like, oh, I got to adjust that. Oh, I got to do this. It just wasn't possible, or was much less likely. So yeah, and I agree. I think Ash is not going to win this fight.
No,
we're living in the future. But Diggs did comment. Daredevil was on a wire.
Okay.
So yeah, and so assuming got sort of moved in post. Anyway, dope work, Diggs. Like always, I just I saw some stuff this week and kind of wanted to share it. So, okay, I'm gonna jump. I'm not even gonna show that, even though as much as I want to. I do want to kind of move on towards the last segment and look at 2 things today for the sort of section that's what's up. And so for that's what's up, I do kind of do a little bit more of a feature. And last week with Oz, I featured this thing and really, or I took a look at this thing, Nocturne, but really quickly. Like we were running short on time too, and it's just such an amazing piece. that I wanted to make sure to focus a little bit more on another creator, the creator. So this is Leland. You've met Leland, I think, at Legion's
Yeah.
Con. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
Orkendo, is that right? Okendo, no R. Leland Okendo. And he's from your neck of the woods ish, New York
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Jersey?
He's on the. I think he's Jersey.
Okay.
I think he's Jersey.
So yeah, another Toy Migo. As was, by the way, and we skipped him today, but I'll get back to this guy as another Toy Migo. But Leland stuff, man, super prolific when it comes to customs. This is like a mad scientist, right?
Yeah, yeah. He had some crazy stuff on display last year on Legion's Con. I'm looking forward to what he has this year.
And that's what a lot of these are. These are like the buildup of him sort of sharing stuff that likely will be on display. So if you're going to Legion's Con, definitely run by and check out Retrospect Customs, Leland's table. But I'm not a big orc guy. I actually have very few Legion's orcs. And I don't know why that is. But there's something about, I think it's just sort of like maybe Warcraft and the green. I don't know. But there's something with the way he does orcs. He's sort of always adding these pieces that really give him a lot more personality to me. Like this piece that feels very Warcraft, right? But the armor on this thing is really cool. And these are all parts that are available for people to sort of like print out or not to buy and then customize. But that face deco, I think, is super cool. I don't know. He, for some reason, makes the orcs much more interesting to me.
Oh yeah.
So again, case in point, and maybe it is just the color. Like there's something about that green. Maybe it's a little too Incredible Hulk or something that has never sort of translated in my brain. But then once you get once you get the full armaments and like, I don't know, there's something really cool to me about these ones that he's doing here. Have you ever tried customizing at all?
Yeah, I've done some customs. I haven't. Well, actually, no. I did one custom for Mythic, but I don't have it near me. I basically tried to make it like what show was it? I was getting really big into House of the Dragon.
Oh, okay.
Right. So
Okay.
I took one of the knights and I tried to turn him into like Targaryen, and actually it was Leland. I think he gave me he sold a what was it, a Storm Collectibles dragon from, I forgot which one, Golden Axe. That was the the Golden Axe dragon, and he sold that to D Blakes, who gave it to me.
This guy, something like this guy.
Yeah, that. But there was the orange one.
Mm-hmm.
So that I took the Venom wings from the Venom and Null 2-pack.
Oh yeah.
And I put that. I took out the arms and I put that in the arm slots,
like a wyvern kind of thing.
Yeah, so I made that like into a mount for one of the knights. That was pretty cool. I don't have it on me right now, but like, yeah, maybe I'll take pictures of that soon. Especially,
it's like a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, like you gotta prep the figure. If you're sculpting or 3D printing parts, you gotta you have to prime before you paint it, right? You have to put a lot. You got to do by layers. You can't just like throw paint on there. You got to do it layer by layer, by layer.
Yep,
a lot of work. That's why, like, I really appreciate people who customize.
Oh, here he is. He's table 64 to 65 at Legion's Con. So definitely stop by, check out. Great work, Leland. Great stuff. Hey, Nolan Collects is here. What's going on? Yeah, man. Yeah. So I think this is my issue too, man. I don't know what it is, Rick. I don't know if it's a Bay Area thing, but I agree. I think that's why I got stuck at they felt a little too of something else to me, but I don't know. But it's Mythic Legions. There's like sort of maybe the elves are a little too this. So I don't know. But for whatever reason, it didn't gravitate to me. I've got one. I've got an ogre scale one, and that's about it, a builder. But
I wanted that one. I haven't gotten that yet, but I do have a bunch of orcs in my collection. Yeah. I'm still trying to find a nice place to display them.
Yeah, man, folks, loving your work, Leland. Yeah, so good story, man. Seriously, good stuff. And thank you for recognizing, Josh. I appreciate that. Yeah, man, there's just some good stuff. I'll go back real quick because I just realized, like, yeah, if you want to see the entire figure, what was I doing? But the soft goods are cool. Like, I've dabbled with furs in particular. I like the look of furs on figures. Particularly like, barbarian kind of thing. Cool stuff, man. Like, that is actually the other orc that I have is from the Furious 4. So I like the red as well. I think again, maybe it's just a color thing. I don't know.
It in Legion's Con last year, I remember he had some stuff on his table that was like Filipino folk characters. I forget the name of it, but it was my sister who pointed it out.
Ito, Manananggal?
Yes, that.
Yes. Yes, I kind of left it to the end, but yes, for those of you who aren't familiar, this is the stuff of your nightmares in the Philippines, especially if you're out in the provinces. You get told the story of the manananggal, which means like to be removed, because they would remove their lower half. They look like folks during the day, and then at night they find a banana tree and they rest in the banana tree, and then they release themselves from the waist up, which is why you don't see this, and instead you just see the sinewy intestines down here, because the lower body is chilling underneath that banana tree, while the upper body in this form is flying from house to house looking for, actually, manananggal and aswang. I think they're kind of the same, but if I'm remembering correctly, they have these long tongues. Oops, that's a spoiler too. These long tongues, and these tongues with this little attachment here, or this little whatever grabber thing at the end, would go through the thatched roofs in the provinces looking for pregnant women, and they would eat the embryo. They'd be looking for the babies inside the mother's stomach. And so there were sort of like rituals and things that you would do to kind of protect pregnant women. And, all sorts of stories that people would say like, oh, we'd heard at night, I swear those weren't birds, or I swear those weren't whatever, some small primate creature. It must have been a manananggal. So there's the best part. You ever deal with one, if you're ever out in the province in the middle of the night and you're walking by a banana tree and you see just legs chilling there, you burn that. And then the manananggal will never be able to attach and then will die.
Oh, wow.
Happy October, everybody.
If somebody's just sleeping under a banana tree at night, you just see their legs. Oh, God.
I mean, yeah, imagine like you're sleeping there with a blanket like over your head, but your legs are sticking. Oh,
yeah. See, I never knew that. I never knew that, like that lore about that. My sister only told me about what it was, and she didn't give me the whole backstory. That's crazy.
Yep. That's not a urban legend. That would be a straight up rural legend. But yes, so they're different. Aswang is like a shapeshifter, a little bit different. Manananggal is this, and this is what we used to call, like, that was the Philippine Air Force. The original Philippine Air Force were these guys. And yeah, actually, Rick Jones, ding, 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 give this man a prize, because folklore and legend is often, often based on some truth, and sometimes people are looking for maybe ways to explain things. And I'm not going to discount it, like, but I will say that potentially, when people wake up and there's blood and the baby's lost, that maybe this is a way to explain. Maybe that just got real dark, real sad, real fast. But real quick, before we check out our last That's What's Up feature, Leland does a lot of stuff with torsos and bodies, and this is the thing that where I finally got to connect with him a little bit earlier, because I don't know if you recognize, like you said, you were in McFarlane. Do you recognize this part down here at all? It is a McFarlane toy, and it's not a test. If you don't, it's all good.
I don't know.
So they made these. Do you remember those lines? I don't even know what they're called anymore, but they're animals that were like, they're like, Cygor was one of them, I thought, from a while back, where they were like techno-organic creatures, but there was a snake one that was kind of like robotic with a red cobra. That's what this toy is. He just sliced off the bottom and reconfigured and engineered it so that you could connect the Legion's upper torso.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah.
And it looks so damn good. And there was a sale on these. And so at some point, you know, in my magical time, I want to do that. Here you go, in progress. I do want to, you know, I love to show people, and appreciate when folks like Leland sort of show their work. And you can kind of see that there, it's a rubbery, this part down is kind of rubbery, and there's a firmer plastic, I want to say, towards the top. And then you can kind of see it again more here. These are different. This is the thing that sort of focusing on. But you can kind of see the engineering. Again, these are all the amazing sort of like third-party folks that are producing these parts. You can kind of see what he did here to make it receive. And anyway, dope work, Leland. Again, another Toy Amigo, just doing some cool stuff. So if you're going to Legions Con, definitely check it out. Meet him. Unfortunately, I will not be there, but I wish I could. But yes, that snake body looks amazing. Raw 10, thank you. That's what they were called. They were called Raw 10. They were like not really posable. There was like a shark one, I want to say. And yeah, you can ask him where this nightmare fuel comes from, because I noticed there's definitely a leaning towards the monstrous and the grotesque, which I love. There's another, yeah. So anyway, hey,
I'm never seeing that.
Speaking of that's what's up. You, Matchu, you do stuff. Let's talk about what you do for a little bit before closing out today. This is your Instagram, and according to this, you are a digital creator, toy photography. So yeah, what you got going on here? And then I also have that sort of channel stuff, but let's focus on the photography first. How long have you been doing that?
So I started my account back in like 2018, right?
Okay.
Like we were talking before we went live, and I do like videography work. So
professionally,
so what this account was just for me to practice my photography work and lighting, setting up for lighting shots. So when I first started doing videography work, I was buying all these different like RGB lights, and I was just like, how can I light the subjects that I want to film properly? So I took the toys off my shelf, and that's how I started getting more into toy photography.
Nice.
And then I started seeing that there was a community, right? And it just pulled me in more. So basically this account, it just started, I started to focus more into it.
Where were you hanging out, and like ACBA or where?
I actually didn't get into the whole ACBA thing. Well, mostly because when I first started, I was doing a lot of like Photoshop work on my photos, like removing the background,
not in camera stuff.
Yeah. Right. So I just kind of like just grew the page from doing that, and then periodically I would take breaks. So I think it was like during the pandemic when I was I was playing the Spider-Man game, and that was when Reels were introduced. This shot is Yimbo's shot. He just did a collaboration. Yeah.
Awesome. It's gorgeous.
So yeah, he took that at ChrisCon, and we were all just taking turns, just like taking photos of figures set up
on the floor or something.
Yeah, it was on the floor of the hotel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was he just we all had like we had just gone shopping. We just bought that Black Widow. We got all the like the Marvel Legends that just released that at that time.
Got it. Okay, so you kind of got into the community and you were kind of like,
Mhm.
you know, working on this stuff, testing equipment, but also like, yeah. Are there, you know, what have you noticed in terms of like what you tend to shoot? Did you start? I'm curious. Does your photography end up affecting what you're collecting?
Um, well, yes, because it started putting me to collecting more stuff, just like looking at the accessories things come like the figures comes with,
Yep.
just for photography reasons. Like if I see like a cool accessory, like GI Joe, they have like one of them has like a like a chocolate bar, and I'm like, oh, I kind of want that for the chocolate bar. Or like the GI Joes that comes with the animals, I'll buy GI Joes for the animals,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
Um, but mainly like right
They're great
now,
animals, but yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I have what is it, Timber? I have two versions
Uh-huh.
of Timber now, and I have the crocodile.
Yep.
And is there another one? I can't think.
The eagle,
The eagle, yes, from
spirit,
Spirit. Yes, I have that
and the
one.
wolf. Oh, you said timber. Yeah.
Yeah, I have
Anyway.
the white timber and then the gray timber.
Yep. So yeah,
Yeah,
so then like looking at toys in a different way because you're like, oh, that would be dope in a shot, right? I know
yeah,
Thanos was telling me that too. Like you end up like at the dollar, he ends up at the dollar store seeing things like, oh, you know, things that he probably would never purchase
right,
all of a sudden become a possibility. um
right.
that's funny. Are there figs though that you notice like you are drawn to photographing? Is it like, and what is it? Is it about the looks? Is it about the articulation?
It's more for the articulation for me.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
So it's that posing, huh?
right, for posing them. I mean that one not really. I'm not articulating it that much there. It's just in. I was just playing around with the smoke genie. In in one of those setups. Uh, but like I mostly collect a lot of Marvel, a lot of Star Wars.
Mhm.
I'm really like I pick and choose with the wrestling stuff. Like I wanted to stick to like the 90s era, but it's kind of bleeding over to like the 2000s, right?
You create rules that then you quickly
Break them.
lose and forget.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
totally. Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Yep. Familiar with that.
Uh
Well, what's really
fell
cool,
into
because I know it's your video background too, but
Mhm,
so this, as you're saying, like, oh yeah, there's not a lot of articulation, but the movement, and same with that
mhm.
Riddler shot, the way you sort of edited that with a kind of like spinning, which is perfect because it's a little bit of that, you know, vintage TV show kind of vibe of the Riddler.
Yeah,
But
that's what I was
the
actually
video
going.
effects in movement, right?
Mhm.
The time and the movement is actually super cool too, that you can kind of work into your stuff. Love that.
Right. And I've actually started taking less photographs, but it's funny because like now that it's like October, I kind of want to participate in that, but I do have to do a shot before it switches up. Like this shot I did in ChrisCon in the hotel room, like that was
Wow.
No Chewing's diorama, and I had those figures with me. So then I set those up, and then I actually had what was it, two RGB lights that I had with me, and
Uh-huh.
then I borrowed one of their tripods, put my camera on it, but like it
Uh-huh.
wasn't tall enough, so I put it on like the chair that was in the room,
Uh-huh.
but it was like a
No
wobbly
way.
chair. So I was like, oh, I don't know if this will work because like I needed to put it on I needed to do a longer exposure because there was not enough light.
Yeah.
But like luckily I balanced the camera in such a way that it did not tip over and I got the shot. So
That's great, man. And again, it's like, I know you're doing this professionally, the video work professionally, and obviously video is it's working with a camera, same kind of
yeah.
considerations. But it's so cool. I love like just, you know, it's fun, man. This is like, you ever see that old shot of Giant Robot used to use this on their merch of Bruce Lee on the ones
Mhm.
and twos? And so like
Yes.
I see this. Yeah, it's so good.
I did a shot with Fei Long on the ones and twos because of
That's
this.
right. Because of that.
Yeah, because of that.
Awesome. This is yours too with this with the effect.
Yeah.
Did you cut those out from something, or did you make the artwork? Because
So
it
I cut out
totally captures the
like
movie, man.
I took a screen grab from the movie and I just
Mm,
put it on the computer, uh just singled out those effects and then
mhm.
just printed it out. and the orange outline is just like construction paper,
Sure.
like
Yeah.
colored paper, right? And the yellow outline over the guitar.
Which
But
totally
yeah,
like is as a thing,
and that's how
particularly
it
for
looks, right?
Spider-Punk. Yep.
So
And real quick, up here, do I see something?
where? Oh yeah, there's the Phaelong shot that I took with my phone.
Perfect. Yeah, man, I love the creativity and just sort of like working that into. I love the creativity of toy photography, period. But then this is
Mhm.
this whole other like, let's create a scene of all these people together. And of course, the property lends itself. I mean, I got to also give credit to like, man, that Spider-Verse stuff is so cool.
Mhm.
And it just, to see you sort of like riffing on that is really, really cool. Curious, this stuff, the Marshall stacks and the are these like Japanese like those blind
So
bag type things, blind box
yeah,
type things?
the
Mhm.
the the turntables, couldn't think of the
Uh-huh.
turntables and the mixers. They're from Technics, right?
Oh, they actually make
Uh,
make them themselves?
yeah, so they're like the 1/12, like the miniature stuff. You could
Nice. Okay.
probably find them online, but they're a little pricey. But uh, I was just like, I need those. Those are
Yeah.
perfect for photos. They have so much detail.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I know that I've seen like a reel where people were getting them from a gashapon
Uh-huh.
station,
Uh-huh.
but I
Yeah.
think that's in like in Japan. I don't think
Yeah.
there's any of them here, right? Like I was like, oh man, they can get those from those things because like I just paid a lot of money on eBay just for a set of these.
Yeah.
The
Well,
Marshall
check
stuff
it
are
out.
3D printed.
Those are 3D printed. Okay,
Yeah, those
gotcha.
are 3D printed.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Check out
Yeah.
J-Town out there, maybe in New York or but man, there's just a ton of cool stuff with the photography
Hmm.
like this. I like that you're sort of like looking at the source material too, right? And kind of like
Right.
that letting that drive your style.
So
So this is
that's another thing. Like I'll get a figure and then I'll pose it, but I'll also like study like the source material or like look at poses from Google or
mhm, mhm.
watch videos about the character, right?
Yep.
Even if I know them, right? I'll just like immerse myself in that world to get either a shot, a
Yep.
reel, or whatnot.
Very
But yeah,
cool. Yeah, no, I think that's like a whole other level of not just capturing the shot, but thinking about it in context, right?
right.
I love it, man. Living in America. So good, man. Yeah, and it really like just captures the spirit of these toys and these figures.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so there's the photography side, and then there's the side where you're like, yeah, me and Jay shot, we're gonna do a show. What's going on with this? Tell folks about Between Two Sentinels.
So our show Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. on my YouTube channel, Matchu Toy. It's Jay Shout and I. We usually have a guest. We talk about things that are either about toys or toy adjacent, right?
Mhm,
Um, we have been, I guess, since I got him into it, like during the pandemic,
mhm,
we've we've got to a lot of toy shows in the area, and we get a lot of them like in the Jersey area. Um, we've always talked about like, hey, like you're always watching these YouTube channels with that
uh-huh,
deals with toys. Like maybe we should start our own, right? And because like that, like he really enjoys doing like a live broadcast kind of thing, right? And
mhm,
I did a job where I did like during the pandemic, I had to do like a live broadcast. So I was like a little bit familiar with doing it online, not
mhm,
like via StreamYard and um on YouTube, but like it would be during like when people were doing Zooms, but like using Zoom, and we would have to use OBS.
yep,
So like just to give like the graphics and stuff, but like we wanted to do something live, right? And interact with an audience,
yep,
and then bring a guest and just chat. It's basically like what we're doing. We're just hanging out,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and it's not always people that we would talk to every day or like that are in our area, but like within the same niche, I guess, right?
mhm,
Or
mhm,
toy adjacent. like as he
Yep.
likes to say, he loves throwing that in there.
Adjacent,
yeah, but
yeah.
it's been, yeah, it's been really fun. I mean, it's like we've gone to more conventions. We went to San Diego Comic-Con this year, which was really fun without a plan, no tickets, just
Yep.
winging it. And we got in because thanks to Cheney and the Toy Migos for that. And
Came home
also
with lots of
Wade.
cool stories that
Oh yeah,
got to
lots of
follow.
cool stories. And a suitcase that got broken from my toy haul.
Nice. Nice. And the
So-
Between Two Sentinels, was that a reference to the toys that you each had, or what's with the love for the Sentinels?
So we actually both have 2 Sentinels, and we were just like,
We
what
each
should we
have
call?
2.
Yeah,
So 4 Sentinels. Okay,
There's-
got it.
and you know, like I'm just sitting there. I'm like, what if we named it Between Two Sentinels? We both have Sentinels, right? And
Yeah.
it's funny because like I was when the Sentinels came out, I was like, I got hit by the FOMO, and I was just like, I need to get it. I need to buy it. So I bought it in the aftermarket. I paid a
Okay.
high price
Whoa.
tag. Yeah. During that time when it first came out, I was just like, I need it. I want it. It's Sentinel.
Yep.
And then I paid that extra price tag, but then I also entered in a raffle.
Well, good. I thought you were going to tell me you did it again. But
No. So I entered in a this is like the first ever toy raffle. What was it? I don't think it was like $20 to get in. I bought one entrance to this raffle.
No way. Okay.
First ever raffle, and I won it.
No.
So it offset the cost of paying for that other Sentinel. So
okay. That's hilarious. Well, it offset it in the sense that
it wasn't as high. Yeah,
I was gonna say, but you still have both, so it's not like
Yeah.
you sold the second one to pay for the first. I got it.
It's like I'll say like I paid a high price tag for it. Yes, I did, but this one basically was $20.
Sure.
So-
there you go.
Right.
And on Tuesday, Arctic Dragon. Right on, man. Well, it's super fun hanging out with you here. You know, just sort of, I love taking the opportunity. Like, it took me a while to figure out how to do this, because I hit you up a while back about like, man, my thought was like, let's I'll create a show and I'll interview folks, and like, well, you know, spend time just sort of like sitting and kind of talking with them about like their nerddom and stuff. But I was like, man, that's like editing. It's going to take time. And then at a certain point, something clicked. And a lot of it was Thanos just saying like, hey, you used to do those news things. You should do them again. I was like, yeah, I guess I could do it regularly, weekly. So I have a regular thing, and I can be my way to bring people on and hang out with folks that like
Perfect.
I find super interesting and I want other people to know about. And then we can both kind of talk about new and interesting things that we're seeing. So that's what this is.
Yeah.
So,
and we've been interacting in other people's chats too.
Oh, so totally. Yeah.
It was really fun
to
get on here and chat actually 1-to-1.
Yeah. Actual like, oh, wait, we're actual human beings with, with faces and all that. So, yeah. So I appreciate you being able to join me today. And folks, if you haven't done so already, definitely check out Matchu Toy. Actually, before we go, one more question, Matchu, because it was in that thing as well. I'm curious, where does that come from? You've told this story before. Yes, Matchu.
So my name is Matthew, but it is very similar to how Joe Coy got his name. Right?
Yeah.
My aunt, she would always call me Matchu Coy. So when I was thinking about it, like what name should I use for my Instagram? And like I'm like, oh, what the hell name? Well, like I even asked my cousin, and my cousin always makes fun of how my mom also calls my name, or how anybody says my name. Just
Matchu. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, maybe I just use Matchu Koi. Wait, if I need to if I have to use toy, just replace the word koi with toy, and that's how I got Matchu Toy.
Nice. So. And what's hilarious is there is another Matchu as well. Have you ever checked in with him? Is it similar?
I did not realize at the time, right? But we are good friends. We're good friends. I don't know why. Like, I guess because his name is Matt also, but I don't.
That's what I was wondering if it was also.
But
like
he's not Filipino. So yeah.
So he's not Filipino. Matchu. It could be, a little bit more of a Spanish, you know, like I could see it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right on, Matchu. Well, Matchu, salamat naman pare. Thank you for coming along. Stoy,
I need that.
appreciate
I need that
you.
shirt.
Appreciate you
that.
coming along here today on this sort of news little journey of ours. And thank you to everybody in the chat, those of you who came through every Sunday. I was going to say every Wednesday, every Sunday, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, and everywhere in between and elsewhere. So yeah, and so what do you got? When is actually the next show and for Between Two Sentinels, and then I guess you're going to be at Legion's Con too.
Yeah.
So like what you got going on, I guess, real quick.
So our show is every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So that's what 5 p.m. for you guys, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're live on my channel on Matchu Toy, and then I'll be at Legion's Con, but I'll also be at New York Comic Con this year.
Oh, right.
If
Okay.
you see me, hit me up. I'll have stickers. I'll hand you some sticker packs.
Dope. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, thank you very much. It's another needless ephemera we saw in the can, to use an old film terminology. That means nothing today in 2023. All right, folks. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for checking out the Brick Something News. Until next Sunday. Peace.
See ya.